Welcome. I am known as Aki Tolliver and am an independent researcher of Kushite-Kemetic spiritual science. This is part 3 of 4 of video series named Greatest Story Ever Stolen. This video will begin the talk of religion. Religion, part 1 of 2. Religion is the organization of spirituality into something that became the handmaiden of conquerors. Repeat again. Religion is the organization of spirituality into something that became the handmaiden of conquerors. So as I mentioned in the first video, before there was religion, there was spirituality. The spirituality was taken and used by conquerors to create religion. Nearly all religions were brought to people and imposed on people by conquerors and used as the framework to control their minds. Repeat. Nearly all religions were brought to people and imposed on people by conquerors and used as the framework to control their minds. And we say in past tense, this is still occurring today. Dr. John Henry Clark. As you remember from the first video, we talked about the atom and its resemblance to the heavens. This is the circle again, a dot within the circle, just as we have the atom with the nucleus surrounded by protons, neutrons, and electrons, just as our sun surrounded by our 9 planets. And the resemblance goes on and on. So this symbol represents atom, or Ra, or Ta, or Amen, or Haru, the eye of Haru, the Son of God. This is a metaneter of the atom, or Ra, on the temple wall in Kemet, which is Egypt. What may this be? Well, this is the zodiac. This is a Cometian zodiac located in Dendera Temple, and it's called the mandala. That's the Greek name. The Cometian name is the Patneteru, and Egyptologists date this back to 54,000 BC. So this could be, you could date this to how old Egypt is. If this is 54,000 BC, Egypt or Kemet may be just as old. This is a black and white version of the zodiac. So the zodiac is a depiction of what our ancestors saw in the heavens, in the night sky. They saw the stars and they mapped all the visible stars that they saw in the universe, and then they grouped them into constellations and created a zodiac and resembled that to the Congo cross, which is also a circle. The Christians also create a zodiac, and we see here, and in the middle of the zodiac, we see the Son of God. And on the right side, you actually see the sun rays coming from the Son of God. And why would the Christian religion make depictions of the zodiac and put the Son of God, Jesus, in the middle. This is a more clearer picture of that zodiac, which we want to use frequently throughout the video. It's a circle with a dot in the middle. That dot in the middle is Aten, Ra, the sun. And we see a vertical and horizontal line, just like the Congo cross that I talked about in the first video. That horizontal line is the horizon. Picture that as the horizon. And below the horizon, we have the earth. And if you look out above the horizon, you have the sky. We see the universe. And on the right side, on the east of that horizon, is where the sun rises every morning and sets in the west on the left side. So we're going to go counterclockwise. We're going to go up from Amen. The sun will rise up to Shu and back down to Aset. So we're going to go through the zodiac in a counterclockwise fashion. So the zodiac is split up into 12 constellations. The reason being because our sun every month touches a different zodiac. So for example, I was born in May, so my zodiac symbol is Taurus, the bull, because during the month of May, the sun touches the constellation Taurus. The sun also travels a linear path during the day, and that linear path is called ecliptic. And on that linear path, the ecliptic, which is the equator in the heavens, the sun passes through all 9 planets. If we took a cross section of the middle part of the zodiac, what we will have resembles the Christian cross on the right. It's the Son of God, just like the Christian zodiac, the Son of God on the cross. Genesis chapter 1 verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. Genesis chapter 1 verse 14. This is a Christian cross, and we have the cross section of the zodiac on the right. See the resemblance? Here's another Christian cross. Here we have the zodiac, and on the right side we have Jesus, the Son of God, on the zodiac cross. So he's the Son. We have him on a circle. We see the horizontal and vertical lines, and the sun, depiction of the sun there as well. So it resembles the zodiac. Jesus replaced the sun on the zodiac. John chapter 8 verse 12. Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. Malachi chapter 4 verse 2. But for you who revere my name, the Sun of righteousness will rise with the healing in its rays. Revelation chapter 22 verse 16. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 14. Awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. Psalms chapter 84, verse 11. For the Lord God is a sun. Before I continue, remember in the first video, I talked about the Trinity and how in my research located 7 Trinities, and also mentioned that none of them were real people or gods. So the first 6 predated the 7th. Those 6 had no God or people that existed. And the 7th being the Holy Trinity of Christianity, I'll let you come up to your own conclusion, or why would that have a God and a real person and those previous 6 don't. So as the sun rises in the east on the horizon, if we break it down, it's Haru, horizon, Haru sun, and rises in Aries, the ram. Let's look at the Lord's Supper, created by Leonardo da Vinci. So on the east side of the room, we see that it's bright as the sun is rising in the east, and we see the 12 disciples and what I believe represent the 12 constellations. And we see those on the east side of the table pointing towards the west. So the sun is rising in the east and headed to the west, as it does in the daytime. So the east side of the room, we have Pisces, Aquarius, and Capricorn pointing towards the west. As the sun rises, it is sprung up by the bull. The power of the bull of Taurus uses his horns to spring up the sun to help it rise to the midday. So I'm going to read some more scripture. Job chapter 38, verse 31. Canst thou bind the sweet influence of Pleiades? Pleiades is Taurus. Or loose the bands of Orion? Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth? Mazzaroth means zodiac, in his season. Or canst thou guide Arcturus? Arcturus means boots, another constellation, with his sons. That's Job chapter 38, verse 31, 32. So the sun is now in midday and is meeting Gemini. So Gemini is represented by the twins. So 2 heads are better than 1 stand for wisdom. And the Commission Neteru for representing wisdom is Tahuti. So the sun, which represents Haru, the son of Asar, meets Tahuti because he needs wisdom to overcome Set, because the sun is headed to be set in the west. Let's go back to the Lord's Supper. So we're now in midday, where we see the sun, which is Haru, in the middle, and we see 3 windows behind him. Those 3 windows could represent the Trinity. So as the sun is in midday, it's going to start setting. But also know here that we have these 12 disciples grouped up in 4. So we have the first 3 on the right and the second 3 grouped together, and the third group together, and the fourth group together. And those represent the seasons. There's 4 groups, so there's 4 seasons. Okay. So just like the Trinity story that I mentioned in the first video, where the battle between Heru and Set is the battle within one's mind, one individuality, and Heru representing your will to overcome Set, which is all the problems, the things that occur in your mind and outside of yourself in nature that you deal with to overcome. And through wisdom, overcoming it, you become a better person. And that's what I believe life is all about. Becoming a better person, better people, creates better civilization. So here we see Heru and Set working together because Heru never kills Set. Set is part of the duality of nature and life. There will always be problems in life, always be the pulling of gravity, the forces of good and evil will always be there. So our ancestors didn't believe that to do away from evil, there will always be that other side of the opposite of something. So here we see what looks like they're standing next to a vertebrae of a person. We see the Ka with the 2 hands raised, the Kepra beetle with the sun above. The Kepra beetle was a beetle, a doom beetle in the desert when they have offspring. The offspring are rolled up in a big doom ball, and our ancestors saw the beetle rolling this ball on the desert just as the sun rolls in the daytime, travels in the daytime. The sun that the beetle is pushing has the same resemblance, and then the sun, that ball will eventually break open and bring new life, which is rebirth. So that same way of occurrence happening in nature, they felt that humans are also, when they go into Westing in the West, will eventually be rebirth, just as our sun every morning rises in the East is rebirth. So they use animals, nature, the heavens to tie in the commonology of things. So the sun begins to set in the summer. We're in the summer, and it meets the Sphinx, the celestial Sphinx. Remember in the second video, talked about the Sphinx, where it being the head of a woman, the head of Virgo, the body of Leo. So after we met Tahuti, Gemini, the sun, as before it wests, it is become wiser. So Virgo represents intelligence. So the head of the Sphinx represents your intelligence overcoming the animalistic part of you, which is the lion. So that's what the Sphinx represents, the head intelligence, the body animalistic, the intelligence, you're overcoming the animalistic part of you, the ego, going to a higher consciousness. For those who didn't watch the video, this is a Sphinx. So the sun is now wested in the west. So our ancestors in Africa had no word for death. There was a symbol of life, which we'll get into later, but no symbol for death. They believed in the continuation of our being. So the Son of God has met a Set, and a Set, sunset, has met Set. So we met Tahuti, will help us defeat Set. Set will not do us in, and we will overcome Set. We will overcome it by using wisdom, having our heart weigh on the scales, which we'll talk about next. Okay, so here we see the summer as we're going west. we met Virgo. Look at Virgo. That is not a man. In the Bible, all 12 disciples are supposed to be a man, but notice real closely that here Virgo, this is Leonardo da Vinci showing Virgo as a woman. And also, he's also helping you because she's leaning over to her right to make a V shape between her and the Son of God. And we also see one of the constellations there, Leo, pointing to Virgo's neck, which is the Adam's apple, to show you that is not a man. Okay, so let's go back just to let you know this is Virgo, which is Aset. So as the sun is in westing, just like in the coming forth by day, as I mentioned, we being led by Anpu, the dog netter, was the first person one sees when westing, also helps in mummification, leads one to the scales of Mayat, and weighs your heart to Mayat, the ostrich feather. And this happens in Libra, which is the scales. So after you're in westing, even when you pass away in westing, that's what happened in the coming forth by day, your heart is being weighed, just like on the zodiac. So here we show a little boy adhering to Mayat. And this was done on a daily basis, not just when you passed away, which is the coming forth by day, helped one in life and in westing. So as the sun begins to fall in the fall, we're in the fall season, it falls on the zodiac and being stung by Scorpio, which is Serket, and eventually dies on the cross. So when the sun is in December, it's considered died on the cross. As you can see, it's on the bottom of the vertical line, and is at the very bottom. It is died on the cross of the zodiac. And that also where we see also the goat. See down at the bottom, there's goat. It's down the cross and it's met Asar. The goat represents Asar. And we'll talk about that in the fourth video. Remember that, the goat. And we're now in December 22nd and 20 to the 25th. So this is in the Christian religion where Christmas is celebrated. So the sun dies on the cross on December 22nd and does not rise again for 3 days. The 3 stars of Orion that I spoke of in the second video are Orion's belt, and they represent the 3, they point to the 3 stars. Those 3 stars point to Sirius, which is Aset, the dog star. So Sirius represented Aset, which is Virgo. And our sun actually goes around Sirius. So Sirius is the brightest star in the night sky, which our sun goes around. So our sun goes around a circle path around Sirius, another atom resemblance. So let's continue. So here in Christianity, this is the sun died on the cross. And we notice here in this picture, we see Jesus in the background, the sun with a circle on his head with a horizontal and vertical line. Again, in Christianity, they took their story, the 3 wise men are actually the 3 stars of Orion, the 3 kings, pointing to the star Sirius. So on December 22nd, when this occurs, when the 3 stars of Orion are in line with Sirius, is showing the birth of Jesus in the winter solstice. So that's actually where they got their story from. It's actually the birth of Sirius, showing the birth of our sun, which sits in the horizon for 3 days and comes back again. Also, during those 3 days, while it sits in the horizon on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, and rises again on the 25th, it is near the cross in the heavens called Crux, which is a constellation which resembles a cross. So this is Asar again. So remember, he's the goat on the zodiac. This is where we are now in December. And just to let you know, this coming forth by day is tied to the zodiac. So as we saw, Amen, we rise in April in Amen. Midday we meet Tahuti to help defeat Set. And then in the end of the day, we go over the 42 principles Mayat, which we talked about in the first video. And our heart is weighed against those 42 principles of Mayat, and through wisdom, that scale is always kept balanced, and you always will become a better person if you follow those 42 principles and you live by it. And that's being Asar. So Haru, your will, when you follow those principles, your will be the will of Asar. Okay? And even in Westing, so there's no word for death. When you passed away, it's Westing. You go through the same thing. Your soul is being weighed by the scales of Mayat, and then you have eternal life if you follow Mayat, and you be amongst your ancestors in the heavens, and you'll be Asar. So that's the whole spirituality tied to the zodiac. So as we're leaving Asar at midnight, who's the netter of the night, of the unseen, he's the one that gives one everlasting life, you're going to be fed food and water by Asar. He's giving you replenishment to be rebirthed again and to be the better person. So we meet Aquarius and Pisces. Aquarius is the water bearer, which is the water, and you're giving 2 fish, Pisces. So as we come back in the horizon, the sun, after meeting Asar at night, we are replenished. So the morning is our most peaceful state because we've rested, we meditated on Mayat, and now we're going to meet a new day, a better person. And having a better person, you have better people, and you have better towns, cities, and a civilization. And if your whole civilization is based off that, where everybody's following it, you have no need for jails, policemen, you have no need for guns, because you always show love and kindness, knowing that if you follow Mayat, you can change your ways, just like mental alchemy. You can change your ways and not be punished forever like we do in our culture, be put in prison or jail, but you learn, given love, and change your ways and become a better person. There's always another day. There's always rebirth of your soul and you waking up in the morning. Let's go back to the Lord's Supper. So we followed the sun along the whole path of the Lord's Supper. So how we rose in the east, where it's light side of the room, and we set in the west, which is the dark side. So let's continue on the zodiac. The zodiac shows the astrological ages as well, called the precession of the equinoxes. Precession of the equinoxes is every 2,150 years, the sun's positions at the time of the spring equinox moves in front of a new zodiac constellation. There are 12 ages in the cycle of precession, which makes up 25,800 years. So every age, again, is 2,150 years. Here we have Narmer's tablet. Narmer was the first king to unite Upper and Lower Egypt. He was of the first dynasty of Kemet, and we're going to talk about this tablet. Specifically, the left side of the tablet. Notice that there's two bulls at the top. That is Taurus. Also on the left side, below it, we have Narmer raising his hands up, and he's positioned just like Orion in the heavens. And he's also holding a man's head, and he's holding one of the Gemini twins. So that's the Gemini twins he's holding, and then below him showing both twins. And also he's facing the celestial giant, as I spoke of in the first video. And above a celestial giant, we have Haru. Behind Orion, we have Canis Major, and we have the star Sirius. That's the little boy next to the star there. So what this is showing is we have Orion shooing away the Gemini twins, the age of Gemini, and bringing in the age of Taurus. And on the right side there, at the bottom part of that tablet, we see Taurus the bull either attacking or shooing away Gemini. So here's Norma's tablet on the zodiac. We see when we look at the ages you go clockwise. So we just finished with the age of Gemini, which is number 3 at the top, and we were going to the age of the bull. So around the first dynasty, this was what was occurring. So this is Moses in the movie The Ten Commandments. He also studied in Egypt, and he was given the Ten Commandments on the Mount Sinai by God. Those 10 commandments, most of them resemble the 42 principles of Ma'at. So what is Moses pointing to? Moses pointing to the golden calf and telling the Israelites not to worship that golden calf. Here's a closer picture of that golden calf. Looks like it comes from Kemet. Those who look at Kemetian art. Let's focus on Moses. This is a statue of Moses in Italy. Do you notice anything unusual about it? Let's look closer. Moses has horns on his head. Why is that? Let's see some more pictures of Moses. It looks from the very first picture that he has ram horns. What other Neteru in Kemet has ram horns that I mentioned in the first video? What I believe Moses represents is the age of Aries, Amen. Amen has ram horns. So in that story in the Bible where he's telling the people not to worship the bull, he's telling the people, the Israelites, not to follow the age of Taurus anymore and to bring in the age of Amen, the ram, which is Aries. So Moses destroys the Ten Commandments because the Israelites were worshiping the golden calf, and basically what this symbolizes is bringing in the age of Aries and ending the age of Taurus. And this was dated around the age of Taurus ended around 2150 BC. Luke chapter 9, verse 16. Then he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking unto heaven, he blessed them and brake and gave to the disciples to set before the multitude. 2 fishes representing Pisces. This is the age of Pisces, which started around 1 AD. That's Jesus. Jesus representing the 2 fishes. Matthew chapter 28, verse 20. Teaching them to observe all that I commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. That's Jesus saying that he'll be with you to the end of the age of Pisces, which that is true. Luke chapter 22, verse 10. Behold, when ye are entered into the city, there shall be a man meet you bearing a pitcher of water. So after the age of Pisces will be the age of Aquarius, which will start around 2150 AD. So the man bearing the pitcher of water is Aquarius. Let's talk about equinoxes and solstices. An equinox is the time twice each year when day and night are equal in length. Also, the 2 points where the sun crosses the celestial equator called the ecliptic, which I mentioned. A solstice is the time twice each year which have the longest and shortest days. Also, when the sun reaches the highest and lowest points in the sky at noon. So here we have Leo representing the summer solstice, the bull Taurus representing the autumn equinox, the man Aquarius representing the winter solstice, and the eagle Scorpio representing the spring equinox. And remember, in spring, after the spring equinox, the first moon that appears after the spring equinox, that is when Easter is. Also, the spring equinox helps bring in the inundation of the Nile. That's how our ancestors knew that the inundation was coming. So the bull, Taurus, represents the earth. Leo, fire, his fierceness represents fire. Scorpio here is shown as a scorpion, but also resembled an eagle. So Scorpio represents air, and Aquarius represents water. We have the 4 major elements: earth, fire, air, and water, like the 4 horsemen. The song, Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. That wheel was the zodiac in the heavens. Ezekiel chapter 10. As for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the face of a man and the face of a lion on the right side, and they 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. They 4 also had the face of an eagle. Revelation chapter 4, verse 7. The first living creature was like a lion, the second was like an ox, the third had a face like a man, the fourth like a flying eagle. Genesis chapter 2, verse 10. Now a river flowed out of Eden. That river, I believe, is the Milky Way, to water the garden. And from there it divided and became 4 rivers. Those 4 are the 4 major elements, were also representing the equinoxes and solstices. Revelation chapter 22, verse 2. On either side of the river, which is the Milky Way, was the tree of life, which is the zodiac. the 12 constellations, which is true. Bearing 12 kinds of fruit, 12, yielding its fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. Let's focus on the Vatican in Rome. This is in Rome, Italy, and this is Vatican Square. And let's go, it's considered the main church of the first religion, Christianity. Let's go into this church in the very back where they're worshiping on Sunday, the sun. And in the very back of the Vatican, we see them worshiping, and it looks like what? The sun. They don't have a picture of Jesus, but they have the sun. But to me, it looks like the sun and the rays coming from it. But also, Italy has a Latin language. Why are there Greek letters above this depiction of the sun? So how we'll go into that later, how the Greeks were involved with religion. So this is considered the Holy of Holies, and we see the priest giving church service. Let's go a closer look at this. And to zoom in a little closer, it looks like a circle with a dove, a bird, and Haru. Remember, Haru is a falcon. He's also the son of Asar, the falcon bird. And on our zodiac, we have the sun in the middle. So we see here, if we look closely, it's a circle with horizontal and vertical lines. And you also, if you see the sections of this circle, is split into 12 sections. This is the zodiac where the sun is in the middle, just as we've been discussing. Let's pull back some more, and we see 4 statues below the sun. This is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which are considered the 4 Gospels of the New Testament. This is a window in the church showing Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And notice under each one, what do we see? We see parts of the zodiac. We see Taurus the bull under Luke. We see Leo the lion under Mark. We see the eagle, John, and Aquarius under Matthew. There's another picture. We see the 4 Gospels. We see the lion, the bull, the eagle, and the man. Just to let you know again, this is the zodiac with the 4 elements on it, 4 major elements, the 4 pillars of the zodiac: the bull, lion, eagle, the man. Let's continue to look inside this church in the Vatican. And we are now under the dome in the Vatican. And if we look up of a dome, any dome, it is a circle. And in this particular circle has 4 other circles on its outside. Those 4 circles are Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Leo. I'll leave it here so you can see what those 4 circles are. So those are the 4 we see around the big circle, which is the dome of the Vatican. Let's have another picture here. So we're looking up, we see a circle with the 4 pillars of the zodiac around it. And in the middle of the main circle, we see a dot in the middle, which is the sun. Let's look at that dot in the middle a little closer. They even have the sun going through it. So that is the sun, and we see the stars of the heavens around it. That's the sun, which is a star in the heavens. And this is in a church. Okay. So in the same church, we have Mary and Jesus on the right side, Mary holding Jesus, just as a Set holding Haru. So a Set holding Haru predates this statue of Mary holding Jesus. But this is where they got their symbology from. These are also other things that are copied from Africa that is used in religion. Remember that barge where Ra traveled the celestial heavens on the barge carried by the priests of Kush in the first video? That's what we see down in the bottom right. That's where the Pope is being carried, just as they did in Africa. This is Revelation chapter 4, verse 1 through 11. The throne in heaven. Remember I said that a star on the zodiac is the goat. Okay? So Revelation chapter 4, verse 1 through 11. Surrounding the throne were 24 other thrones. 24, could that be the hours of the day? And seated on them were 24 elders. They were dressed in white and had crowns of gold on their heads. From the throne came flashes of lightning, rumblings, and peals of thunder. In front of the throne were 7 lamps were blazing. Now Orion, as I mentioned before, which is a star, had 7 stars. These are the 7 spirits of God. Verse 7. The first living creature was like a lion, the second was like an ox, the third had a face like a man, and the fourth like a flying eagle. And that's Revelations chapter 4, verse 4 through 7. Let me continue. Revelation chapter 5, verse 6. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and the 4 beasts, in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb, as it had been slain. God has slain the lamb. This is the goat, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. So God slain Orion, the goat. And what I believe is happening here, remember you see here, we see the lion, the eagle, the man, and the bull. This is the zodiac, this is the heavens, all coming into play here. And we have the lamb being slain, Osar, because the Christians who conquered Africa wanted to do away with the spirituality of Asar. So we'll get into that in the 4th video, and how the conquerors used the Bible to have their followers understand that not to look at the heavens anymore, not to follow Asar, which was the spirituality of the ancestors at the time of Africa, and to follow Christianity. Just to let you again know, this is Asar, the goat, on the zodiac. This is a depiction by Leonardo da Vinci of God surrounded by the goat, lion, bull, and the eagle. This is in front of a church. What is this? This is at the University of Chicago in the museum there. And this is called an Assyrian cherubim or tetramorph. The Assyrian civilization consisted of Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Turkey, and they are a Christian civilization. Let me read some more scripture. Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 5. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, and everyone had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings. And their feet were straight feet, And the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. Then I looked, and behold, 4 wheels beside the cherubim, 1 wheel beside each cherub, and the appearance of the wheels like the gleam of tarnished stone. In the likeness for their likeness of the faces, they had the face of a man and the face of a lion on the right side, and they 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. They 4 also had the face of an eagle. So a cherubim, which is mentioned in the Bible, is this what's showing here, and is the head of a man, which you see here, the body of a lion, the wings of an eagle, and the feet of a bull. Those are the 4 parts of the zodiac. This is a wall in Kemet. On the top right, we see a lion, bottom right, bull, bottom left, eagle, top left, man. Isaiah chapter 19, verse 9. In that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt. That altar is the pyramids, which were represented Asar, the lion's belt, Orion's belt in the heavens. Joshua chapter 22, verse 26. Therefore we said, let us now build an altar, not for burnt offering, nor for sacrifice, but that it may be a witness between us and you and your generations after us. Scientists believe that the pyramids originally had an outer casing of limestone, which we see here at the bottom of the Great Pyramid. So the pyramids were smooth and white, but they were stolen by over the years, and now we see the inner part of the pyramid. But just imagine that it was gleaming for miles around, smooth and white. And they believe that each pyramid had 144,000 stone casings. Revelation chapter 7, verse 4. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of children of Israel. 144,000. And this concludes Religion Part 1 of 2. So what I'm hoping to show in this video and how religion came into being 200,000 years after the first people of Homo sapiens sapiens of Africa, and where spirituality existed before religion, so you can be non-religious and still be spiritual. And that our ancestors and our history, throughout history, most of our existence was without religion. That we existed fine. We had the longest lasting civilizations. We created the Great Pyramids. We created math, developed math. We were wholesome people. We did not divide up continents. We were not conquerors, but we were people who believed that we were one with the universe, one with ourselves, and we were more peaceful and spiritual. We had no need for police officers, no need for killings, no need for guns. One last thing, again, religion is the belief in and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods. These are some of the books that I suggest one begin their research. These are some of the authors of those books. These are elders and ancestors who study African history. One thing I want to end this video and been saying, that enlightenment is a destructive process. It has nothing to do with becoming better or being happier. Enlightenment is the crumbling away of untruth. is seen through the facets of pretense. It's the complete eradication of everything we imagine to be true. Thank you everyone for listening. Wish you peace.